and everything.
So what we usually do is our Zoom meeting only lasts 40 minutes because we're too cheap to get a yearly
Oh,
subscription. So we get 40 good minutes with you. So once we hit about the 30-35 minute mark, I'll start wrapping it up. And
okay.
we'll just, it's really more of a, what we do here is just more of a conversational style kind of interview type of thing. So just whatever you want to talk about is fine with us.
She probably told you it's very odd for me because I don't do this.
All right. Well, I am good to go if you guys are.
Yep, I'm good.
Jacob, you want to do the Patreon ad at the beginning?
Yes, sir. I'll
All right.
go ahead and do it.
Here we go on three, two, one, go.
Hey, everybody. It's Jacob from Open Micers. You are actually listening to my girlfriend's aunt's favorite podcast. I know it's a very huge award milestone for us. So please head on over to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/OM podcast to give us a few bucks every month because now if our podcast goes bankrupt, I'm going to be in so much trouble, guys. I am going to be sleeping on couches for the rest of my life. I'm never going to live it down.
Don't you
So
already
please,
sleep on couches as of now?
well, that's beside the point. But please go to patreon.com/OM podcast and pick a tier so that I don't shed mine.
Ooh, you know that music means it's Thursday night and it's time for the Open Micers podcast. My name is Jason Robbins.
I'm Jacob Craig, and
Please
our guest
introduce
tonight.
our fantastic guest tonight.
Oh, I will introduce our guest tonight. He is a record producer who has worked with the likes of Black Sabbath, Tina Turner, the Muppets, so many to name. We're going to talk about it all. Please welcome John Velasco to the
Hi,
podcast tonight, ladies and
good to
gentlemen.
meet you guys. And after that introduction, what can I
So
say?
you worked with the Muppets. You worked with the
Well,
Muppets.
with Sesame Street, actually. And
Ah,
actually, I'm really a publisher and producer more than anything. But no, my late partner, Joe Raposo, created Sesame Street basically with a few others, with Jim Henson. And
really?
he, for 20 years, he wrote all the music for it.
Wow.
And he used to say that, the day I die, it's going to take 10 people to replace him. And guess what? They think they've got 10 or 12 now.
Yeah.
But no, he was tremendous because his whole thing, he used to always say, God forbid the kids ever know I'm teaching them anything,
Yeah.
which is really a great idea. And all the songs, whether it was, being green or Abcadabra, everything was a lesson.
Yeah, I
So
had,
it was
I
a lot of
had
fun.
all of those Sesame Street records when I was a little kid. All of them on vinyl too. I had all the
All the colored stuff.
oh yeah. I even had an 8 track of Saturday Night Grover, I think it was, or something like that.
It was very well. I was working with a bunch of kids stuff, and we were very lucky. I was working with Joe as well, and the company that we were working on Care Bears with was the Parker Brothers, and they just
Mm,
called me one day and they said, "Don't you have that something to do with Sesame Street?" I said, "Yeah," and they said, "Well, we own Sesame Street Records. Would you like it?" So, and they
sure.
didn't know what to do with it. We went, "Thank you." So then we had the publishing and the records for a while. So that was quite nice.
So you were the head of Allied Artist. It was Allied Artist Music Group, which back from 71 to 99.
United Artists.
With United Artists.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
yeah. No, Allied Artists actually I'm involved with now, but it was United Artists back then.
Oh, okay. United Artists. Yeah. So wow. Let me look up that. Uh,
Yeah, no, it's I've got very lucky being in the right place at the right time, really, and a lot of this stuff, and we had a lot of fun there.
so that was from. Let me pull up the Wikipedia page
No,
here.
please don't. That makes me feel really old. But
So that was from 57 to 78, and then EMI 78 to 80,
who's
and
that?
was that's the United Artists records.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, United Artists Records was huge at the time, and I was United Artists Publishing. Don't forget. So
Okay.
I ran United Artists Music.
Wow.
All
Looking
in the
at the.
same building. It was lots of fun because we had, James Bond and all that good stuff going on.
Oh, that's
And that's
fantastic.
where I got that little band ABBA and ELO.
So tell us
So
about some of those
it was,
bands that you got to work with. Some of the huge bands, like you said, ELO. You
yeah,
work with Tina Turner, Moody Blues, Black Sabbath. Please tell me you have some Black Sabbath stories for me tonight.
it's very tough to tell any of them on the air. But no, I'll tell you one funny story is that they stayed at the house when I was in LA one day, and I got back, and it had been one of the guys' birthday. I don't forget who it was, and Ozzy had chased him around the house with a can of blue spray paint, and that was a pretty exciting thing to get rid of for a few days. But no, like ABBA, I mean, it was just like being in the right place at the right time. I loved what they were doing. We signed them. And it was the Eurovision Song Contest coming up, which in Europe, if you don't know, is the contest. If you win Eurovision, which it really includes Israel, a lot of other countries as well, not just Europe. But that's it, you're a star for life. And I loved the music, but it was so unlike anything else that anyone had ever done. And so I knew we weren't going to win, but I just liked the record.
Yeah.
So the day actually of the show, we're sitting there and someone I'm talking looking backwards talking to someone, and what they do is all the countries in turn at the end of the show vote. They have panels and they all vote, and the guy says to me, I can't believe you're so far ahead. And I knew he was joking, and of course I looked around and I had to get my assistant to rush out and get a place for a reception because I was just going to go for dinner. So it was and that was really the start of them. And I used to go over each month and meet with Stig Anderson, who was their manager, just look see all their new stuff as it came out. But it's so again, it was just a really lucky thing that just happened when it shouldn't have happened. Really, it was
Yeah.
fantastic. And again, Jeff Lynne, I mean, ELO were just fabulous. A few years later, I tried to almost put them together with Kelly Kruger, and we called them Orchestra with a K, but it never worked. I think we got them in one movie, and that was it because Jeff wasn't part of it, and of course he's an amazing writer.
So how did you become involved with basically the music industry, being a record producer? Like what
It
was
was
your start in that?
very, very weird. I was in the theater and not on the stage as stage manager. And eventually, in like two very quick leaps, I was at Drury Lane in London, which is you've got nowhere else to go. And the guy, Sir Bernard Delphont, who owned the place, made the mistake of saying one day, "You're going to be with us forever." And I went, I don't think so. I was looking at the old guys around, and I went to the PR company, Cowan's, that was doing it, and I said, "You need a PR executive." And they said, "Who do you know?" I said, "It's me." And luckily enough, they took me on, and I was looking after Peter Sellers, Joan Collins. I mean, a stack of people that were incredible, even Barbara Streisand, Sammy Davis Jr. And they were, I was telling stories for them, taking them out. Anyway, one day someone calls from America and said, "There's a young songwriter coming to town. I'd love you to meet him." And it was Jimmy Webb. And he and I really got on. And it was like, let's do a company. So it was him and his dad and a girl called Patty, and the Canopy was the company. And from that point on, I just love the industry because I'm watching him compose and silly things happening that like doing El MacArthur Park, and everyone's laughing because how can you put that is 3-minute singles and it's someone that can't sing, and we go to number one all over the world. So it was just really realizing I'm the worst musician in the world. I mean, I play the guitar badly, I play piano with one hand. So it's really, I live vicariously through really real talented people. So it's yeah, so that's it really. I'm just riding on their coattails and just really enjoying it. And it just grew from there.
So basically, what you're saying is, if you can't play well, become a producer.
Yeah, a publisher is the key.
Yeah.
Because the publisher is the one that has the songs and works with the writers.
Yeah.
And I love the writers more than the artists. So yeah, I
Yeah.
produce stuff as well. But I mean, publishing is really where all the music money is in the industry. And it's really the base of everything. Everything you do has music behind it. So it gives you a lot more range to move in.
Are you still in the publishing industry, or?
Oh yeah, oh absolutely, yeah. And I mean, publishing and film and TV, we really right across the board. But whatever I do, it's got music at the bottom. Like I'm talking about a biography of a famous musician right now. And again, it's all about music and bringing on new artists. I would never really sign an artist unless they were a writer,
Yeah.
because it's like I said, there's so many incredible writers out there, and you take one song, and it can be done so many different ways.
Mhm.
It's that someone I've managed for 40 years, Randy Edelman. I mean, he was a songwriter to begin with. He wrote Weekend in New England that Manilow made a big hit of, and other stuff. Then moved into movies. He's done over 300 movies now, from The Mask, Cousin Vinny, to the huge ones, and Gettysburg. But it's people take his songs and switch them. I mean, one of the songs he wrote was a beautiful ballad, and then it became a hip hop song and won an award. And so that's what the fun thing is, being a publisher, is the different usages you can do. I mean, you do a record, that's fine, and people can copy it.
Yeah.
With a song, you can move it around.
Right. And do you think that's something that's missing in the music industry today? Because a lot of the biggest stars that we have don't even really write their own music. They hire writers and everything. And I mean
Yeah, and the strange thing is they put their names on the songs as well.
right, exactly. They sort of, I guess it seems kind of sacred for a musician to write their own music and, you know, all of that, but it's almost entirely gone. I would say 80% of the hugest artists today don't even write their own music.
Yeah, it's and there's a lot of there's a whole lot of electronics going into it, and I still steer clear of that when I can. The fun thing is to take one of those people, if they think they've got talent, or you think they've got talent, and put them with a writer, and it's amazing what can come out of it. I mean, this young girl was doing sort of rap type things, and I realized there was a voice in there, and I asked her to just do like a middle section there where she sang, and it was fantastic. And she was thrilled because she'd never thought she was a songwriter. She was working to beats and rhythms and just coming up with lyrics. And I still think at the heart of it all, even if their names aren't as the sole writer, a lot of it is based around a real writer.
Mhm.
Well, it's
But
like you said. I honestly wish, I was part of the music industry. I was a drummer signed to Universal Records. And honestly, I wish I was just a songwriter. I wish I could just write songs. That's where the money is. You don't have to deal with
yeah,
any bull crap. You just write songs and you get paid. It's like the
well,
best job on the planet.
yeah, that it's what I say to people is, it earns money while you're asleep. And the scary thing is as well, I meet with a lot of young bands and people that are doing it, they have no clue what it's about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that they register their song and that's it. But they don't know, even then, they're just losing 50% of their money.
Hmm.
Because if you don't register as publisher and songwriter, as you know, the publisher gets 50, you get 50.
Yeah.
And so
Because we
I
had,
said, I mean, the number of times I've told them that
yeah,
you've got to get that other 50.
we signed a bad contract when we got signed. We signed away 85% of our publishing rights.
Oh my God.
So that's why it took me 15 years to be able to clear all the legal crap so I could re-release it, as
Oh.
our old band. But
And that's why
it's
you're doing a podcast with
yeah,
me today.
pretty much pretty much just signed away all of our rights at that point. And it was like, what were you think? But hey, when you're a young musician and you've got people dangling contracts in front of you going, you're going to be famous, you're like, okay, where do I sign? And then 2 years later, you're looking at your bank account going, why am I broke?
Yeah, I mean, I had that conversation with a young artist the other day. It's like we were talking about a contract we were going to offer her. And I said, you totally understand it, right? She's going, yeah, yes, yes. Where do I sign? I went, hold it. So what does this clause mean? She went, I said, you haven't read it. She said, no, but it's great exactly what you're saying. Great to get someone to offer me an agreement. And I basically took an hour and a half going through it with her, explaining each piece, what it meant. And I said, now take it to an attorney. And it was basically, if you don't have a couple of hundred, I'll give you a couple of hundred because I really love you as a writer, but you've got to understand what it's about. And
Yeah.
then I give them reference books because, if they don't understand it is at the end of the day, hopefully that's why I've kept friends for 30 plus years. If they don't understand, what's the point of making it's the enjoyment gets out of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I enjoy it. That's why, retirement isn't anywhere.
That's definitely one thing I learned over the last 20 something years is definitely read everything. At
Oh
least
yeah,
read it. So
and
you
then
can,
get a friend to read it on top.
yeah. Don't just
It's
sign your name on anything.
and it was funny. I just actually had a Zoom call with someone today who was talking about an artist and looking at a contract, and he got all these comments, and he was reading half a paragraph. So I had to take him to the top. I said, "Now you can't do that. You're getting from the top, and it refers to everything that's below it." And it's so
Yeah.
everyone's an amateur attorney, and that's why they're still getting in fun, and that's why some people are living on islands with their yachts.
Uh-huh.
But
Right.
you
And
know,
so you own the Allied Artists Music Group, as we've said before. You have a lot of talented musicians on that label, including our former guest Rocky Kramer, who
oh
we
right,
are huge fans of that guy. What's it like having young talented people like that on your label?
it's good and it's tough.
Hmm.
I mean, he is so incredibly talented as a guitar player. I mean, it's incredibly.
Yeah.
And the problem is that you plan a tour, you plan people seeing him, and people can't see him now.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
on stage, he's really dynamic, and that's the one thing I think that you can do Zoom, you can do stream shows. You can't get that live feeling if you're a guitarist, a solo guitarist, more than anything, because people want to just look at what you're doing and just feel the atmosphere, and you can't get that over with, you know.
Do you think we'll ever get back to at least being able to go to concerts and things like that? I don't know.
Oh, I certainly hope so. I mean, the interesting thing is, though, a lot of young artists, it's helping them
Mhm.
because if you think about it, it's now a level playing. Whether you're Taylor Swift or Joe Smith,
Yeah.
there's nowhere to perform. You can't be in your bar performing, and you can't be in an arena. So there's a lot of ways that if the young artists realize that it's a level playing field,
Yeah.
if they play it right and interact with fans, they can build a fan base which they never could.
Hmm.
I never really thought of it like that. It is sort of a reset to zero kind of thing.
Yeah, and obviously the old ones are living on their fans, but there's so much they can
Yeah.
tell their fans because the fans know everything about them. Where a
Yeah.
young artist can get fans interested in them and actually feel they're taking part in a career.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely, yeah. And there are people even during the pandemic who have already gotten famous purely from social media.
Hmm.
oh
Like
yeah,
Dr. Elvis got famous from doing a cover on TikTok, and it went viral, and now he's on TV everywhere, and he's became famous during the pandemic.
yeah, the girl I was talking about, she did a joke thing about potato chips, and she had 500,000 followers overnight, and obviously was running out looking for a record deal.
See, that's the
So
thing in the online world. I've been told by several people that actually make a living doing things like podcasts and making music online that all you really need is about 10,000 people, loyal people, to keep you to where you can make a living. And I don't
no,
think that's hard to do these days.
no, I mean, it's artists like hopefully now are realizing you don't just pick up a guitar and perform at a bar and have all these fans adoring you and feel
Yeah.
they're great. And it's now they're having to learn their trade.
Hmm.
It's like, no, you've now got to work at it every day of your life. You've got to look at what's happening on social media. You've got to be
Hmm.
posting. You've got to be thinking of new things to tell people. And you build your audience by working. And I think that's another good thing that's come out because it's kind of sad when you see artists that are very average playing to be that all their life and that one day they'll break through.
Yeah.
And so I think the other side of it is hopefully it will teach them quicker now that it's a business.
Well,
It
there's so
really
many
is.
people out there too that are experts in like things like social media for musicians and things like that. There's so many resources now to where you can understand the algorithms and all that kind of stuff. So if you're really serious about it, you can do it. It's there's no magic bullet like there used to be. Like, oh, I'm all we need to do is get signed. We get signed, and then everything's
Yeah.
gravy. And it's not. It's not like it never really was like that then, unless there was a ton of money being pushed into you. but now you can do everything yourself.
100%. And it's interesting. The older artists are also looking at it. So what do they call the legendary artists? There's a name for them. I forgot. They're looking at other things. I'm working with Rick Wakeman right now again, and he's come up with a great concept called Rick's Place. A place is spelled like the fish, of course.
Yeah,
And it's really like a Monty Python show,
that's
but it's
awesome.
based all around music. So he'll play a great piece, then he'll talk about keyboards, then he'll talk to a producer about things, and then stupid things will happen. But it's a really interesting thing. He's devised this whole thing, getting thousands of followers just by doing so. He would never have thought of that before. He'd have just been on tour and earning what he wants to earn. So
Yeah.
it's nice to see everyone's using the whole concept.
You had mentioned, did you mention that you were writing a book?
Yeah, I mean, people have said I should for years, and I kept saying no, 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 and they said you've got such great stories. And so actually, I'm not writing them. I'm giving the stories to Eileen, who we all know, and I'm giving them to her out of order, and no one will know but us who they're all about. And it should be a very fun book. And so she's creating a fictional book, which could be a lot of fun when she gets it done. And it's the type of stories that you can tell friends or people when you're out in the bars, but it's not the type of stories you can and a lot of these artists say, oh, it'd be great if you put them in the book. But once they see it in the book, they hate it.
So it's basically true stories, but not.
Everyone is a really true story, but one you can never tell anyone.
Ah, okay.
And
Right.
it's yeah. So it'll be well worth reading if you just want to, because it's almost like a game. Guess who that was?
Yeah.
It's one I can tell you is many years ago. Yes, we're at the Forum, and at that time in LA, and the whole band was on macrobiotic diets even back then, except for Rick. So one day we borrowed a Rhoda's car and went out to a bar to get a steak and a beer. And we're sitting there, and all these people are commenting really loudly and rudely about, look at that guy. He thinks he looks like Rick Wakeman. He doesn't look at all like him. What an asshole to be this. And it was hilarious because little did they know we drove back through the crowds. And that was a really interesting because we were laughing about it all the way back.
So do you have any Tina Turner stories for us or anything? Or
Not really on her. She is a sweetheart, and no, she was so lovely, and she's quiet and nice. And the thing used to annoy me. You'd be having dinner, and then the waiter would recognize her, and she'd have to become Tina Turner. She is one of the hardest working artists around, or was back then. And she worked harder than the girls backing her or anybody, and but she was a lot of fun at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's difficult to be the boss and have a lot of fun. And wherever she worked, it was great. And initially I put her with a guy called Barry Marshall, who's now Martial Arts, and he just started his agency. And I said, I told him about it, and I got an album released to match the tour. And he put money into the tour, and he lost a fortune on the first tour. But by the end, everyone was rebooking her, and it just went boom through the ceiling.
Wow.
Because no one had seen her by herself doing a really big show.
Yeah.
And she's stunning. I mean, no one could match her on stage.
That's the thing. I feel like I missed so many good bands and shows and stuff because I was born in '77. I missed all the good stuff, I think.
Well, yeah, it's no, there was a lot of stuff. No, I say things like I saw Elvis, which was funny. And it's like, because now it's like, you saw Elvis? It was, yeah, I was just invited along to see him, and it was in Vegas. It was like, whoa. At the time, obviously, you got no clue because it's just, you're in the industry and you get people send you their albums, they invite you to the shows. I mean, the unusual thing I did, which is one of the things I always remember, I did the first tour of India in '81. And that was the most fun. I spent a year there because they'd never had a rock tour. They didn't know about staging, about equipment, nothing. And it was incredible going around. We had to use cricket grounds and build stages, but they didn't have trusses. So we had to show them how to make a truss and bring samples in. and
Wow.
amazing people. I mean, thousands. And in Calcutta, we had a huge stadium, but there was a hill, and they reckoned for half a mile, cars were up there watching from half a mile away up the hill.
Wow.
And there's a lot of great stories from there. I mean, one of the funniest, of course, not knowing anything, they didn't know about generators. So we brought a generator in from Germany because we didn't trust their power. And this guy was so proud. He said, "Saab, don't worry. We have power and you won't go out all night." So we opened in Delhi. And the funniest thing is, one, you suddenly see it's sort of the ground is down, and on the hills, you see the Delhi being blacked out section by
Oh man.
section. And he's keeping his word. He kept us going. But at the point that the lead started glowing red in the grass, at that point we said, "You've done a great job. We're going to use the generator." But no, that's why that'll always remain one of the, because it's things that you could never see before. It's like things you take for granted.
Yeah.
They had no clue. So
Wow.
it was fun times for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll always have that too. I mean, the first rock tour ever to visit India.
Yeah,
I mean,
Mystic Dandy wanted to keep the kids happy was the thing. It was just at the end, and finding the band was the tough thing because they wanted someone that they would love, they could dance to, and it didn't matter if it was a hit band or not. It would help because they didn't know. But what I
right.
did is I used, and you probably don't remember, the Osibisa. And it means, it's a Ghanaian group, it means crisscross rhythms that explode in happiness. And it's one of those bands you can't help to dance to. And they loved them. We got a local act, but they did an incredible show. And one of the best things was in Bombay, the crowd started coming over the fences to dance. And the policemen went crazy and started to beat them with the lattes, the stick. And I had to go. So I went to the commissioner. I said, "Guy, you're going to have a riot if you keep doing that." And he said, "What else do you do?" I said, "Let them dance. They're not angry. They're having fun." And it was funny. He pointed at me and said, "It's on your head." So I just stood on the stage and went, and they poured in. But what they didn't know is that Osibisa had learned one of their most religious songs called Ragapati. And at the end of the show, the crowd's going crazy and wild. And they did it a cappella. They did that as the last song. And it was like, wow, there was just silence and they all walked out.
Wow.
So got lucky. But again, I mean, I could go on for hours and bore you stiff, but it's fun moments like that you could never have again.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. A question that I had, because we've talked about several different musicians from different genres. I mean, and you've been in this industry for a long time. So what is it like having to work with so many different bands and performers of different genres? Like, for instance, if you're working on a soul album and sort of soul and poppy songs for Tina Turner, and then having to turn around and work on metal and rock albums with acts like Black Sabbath.
It's all down still to the song. It's the way you do the song. And in my mind, it's like a big wheel keeps on turning, as they say. It's that it all starts with country. Then it goes to country rock. Then it goes to pure rock. Then it goes to outrageous rock. Then it goes to something that no one had ever heard of. Then it comes back to country.
Right.
Because everyone wants to hear a song again. So that's the way I look at it, is that if you just see that it just slides from one genre into another, that's really what the industries are like. And it's keeping an open mind. And, there's so many different styles and everything. If I like the song, I don't care whether it's hip hop or whatever it is. I like what they just did. If it's too contrived, I don't like it. But there's a lot of really great talent, as you know, in almost every genre you think of. But it is interesting. It always goes back to country.
I think you hit the nail on the head too, because I think that's the hallmark of a well-written song is if you can hear a song that, you can hear a pop artist do it and it's like a poppy dance song, but then you hear another artist do it like in a slowed down country, or even like maybe like a mid-tempo rock song or anything that kind of you can pretty much make any genre out of it. That's just a hallmark of a good song.
Yeah, it's all down to the construction, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting when they do that. If they take it totally out of kilter. I mean, right now I have a band which called Anime's X, It was a band put together a few years ago, and the idea, it's like well-known metal musicians, Rudy Cezak, John Bruno, Mike Basira, all really well known in the metal business. Did a tour of Japan doing Disney and other songs metal. It
I
went
want to
to
do
number
that.
one on Yahoo, all the charts. In the end, it was stadium tours. So basically, what we've done over here, we've done Anime's X, and we did Christmas songs, jingle about everything in metal. We put out a single called Animazing Christmas. We were too late for everything, but it went up the charts to the 60s, which is ridiculous in 2 weeks. And people love it. And we're just about to now go seriously. But we had a tour plan. We were offered a tour, obviously going to Disneyland and other places. And we were actually doing a Broadway show we planned, because there's nothing for kids and families on Broadway, or there's nothing for anybody right now. But if you want to take a family out and spend $1,000, not everyone can afford that.
Yeah.
But if we do a fun anime show, $35 a ticket was the plan. And the theaters are dark during the day. So we do an 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, 2, we're out. And then the big show goes on. And it was a really lovely plan, which was supposed to happen this summer. And of course didn't. But I really want to do that one day, because it's like, you see little families going around Manhattan and everywhere, bored out of their minds, because they really, and at Christmas time particularly, there's only 2 or 3 places to go. It's like Swan Lake, Radio City. Then what else do you do? But everything is hundreds of dollars a ticket. So that's the fun. So that's what I'm saying when you're talking about doing different ways. I mean, we're doing Beatles, and we're doing really weird, beautiful ballads, but ripping them apart.
Yeah.
Right.
And everyone likes it.
Well, John,
I hope that's something that we can do, once everything's safe.
Yeah.
I think what Jason's about to say is that we are coming to the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
It's been really amazing having you on. Of course, we haven't even scratched the surface of what we could possibly talk about. But before we do get out of here, something that we like to ask our guests about their specific profession. So if you had to give a young, aspiring publisher, record producer, a piece of advice, what would you want the younger generations of your profession to know?
I think the main thing to remember is it's a real business, but the number 2 most important thing is to enjoy it. You don't work at it. Do the business, but enjoy every second of it. Then you'll be successful.
It's great advice. Always do what you love, but
absolutely.
Still remember, it's still a business. So
that's right. People say, when are you going to retire? And it's like, I guess when they put me in the ground, because I'm having too much fun.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. We definitely want to have you back on again later on this year and talk to you some more. But thank you again for coming on the show. It's an absolute pleasure getting to meet you, sir.
That was really fun, and thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Is there anything that you'd like to point people to online or anything?
Well, my company is md25.nyc, and at least the outline of the company is there. And then there's a charity foundation called letmehelpinc.org, and that shows, I do a lot of charity shows, and Soho Johnny, as you probably know, puts up a lot of these things for charity, and that's where we're announcing all the concerts we're putting out.
Awesome. So what about you, Jacob? Anything you want to throw out there before we leave tonight?
Just that everyone listening to this should absolutely please give us a review. That's something that we don't get a lot of. Please give us a review. Let us know what you think. Let us know how we can improve. And if you want us to keep talking to fabulous guests like Mr. John Velasco, please head on over to patreon.com/ompodcast and pick a tier. Doesn't have to be a lot of money. Just help us out a little bit.
Yeah, and we're climbing up the ranks. We're climbing up the ranks in the stand-up category on iTunes. So if you want to, that's where you want to leave your review, please do that, or even on Spotify, wherever. Just wherever you want to leave one. We're climbing up the ranks, and of course, we still got that best comedy podcast on the earth. So that's something, at least I think so.
I think it is too, Jason.
Jacob's mom likes us.
Yes, my mom, my girlfriend's aunt. That's 2 listeners, guys. We are climbing very fast, we have at least 2 listeners.
Fantastic. And if you would like to email us, you can email us at openmikerspodcast@gmail.com. We are at Open Micers on Twitter and Open Micers Podcast on Facebook and patreon.com/OM Podcast. So we're going to get out of here. We will see you guys next week. That was a fun episode. Thank you for hanging out with us, John.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
That was great.
I'm sorry I couldn't tell you more stories.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh,
well, we're
that's
definitely
fine.
going to do it again if you're up for coming back on.
Yeah, it was fun. And the best of luck, guys, because that's a real
Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to get going, you guys, and y'all have a good night.
All right. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Bye.